Yeah.
We're live.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, buddy.
We got a new producer today.
New producer.
Brian. Yeah,
Producer
Chris will be doing surgery, right?
Yeah.
Producer
ankle
Chris.
stuff. Yeah, going to be on get his ankle worked on. So,
Yeah.
both of them. Not at the same time.
Oh. So he's going to be out for a while.
He'll be out for a while.
Yeah.
So we'll have Brian with us.
Yeah.
But glad to have you back.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think it's been before Christmas.
Has it been? Wow, man.
Yeah, I think, Christmas was the last one.
Yeah, because we kept kind of getting pushed out.
Yeah,
and then,
just different things.
So sorry, man. You lost one of my favorite people in the world, your dad.
Yeah. That's a rough path to walk through, especially as a son, I think. And especially...
And the oldest.
Yeah, the oldest, but also, he was also co-worker. I worked with him for 25 years, so...
Yeah.
I'm thankful for that all that time, but it's still tough.
It is still tough. And, your dad, just to be honest, just became, because I got to know him. I've known him for a long time, right? But just getting to know him really well, I think, over the last 5 years. Man, I wish I'd known him that well all those other years. Yeah. What a guy.
He was a guy. He was a big personality.
Big personality.
Let me put it that
way. He was great, man.
Yeah, and he liked people. And so,
yeah. So. And I'm sure he's got plenty of people that he's hanging with now, right?
Yep. I'm sure he is catching up with a lot of people right now. So
telling them, hey, Sharon, Kevin, everybody's going to be here just any minute now, right?
Yep.
Of course, we know that's what the Bible says about time in heaven. Really, there is none, right? A day with the Lord is 1,000 years. So, but we still got to spend these years
still got to walk
him.
Through the grief here because it just reminds me of the fact that this was not the way it was. Mm-hmm. I think the grief that we as humanity feels when a death of, especially of a loved one, happens, is there's that sense of that we have. Yeah. And I think it is because we are eternal beings and God did not create humanity for death. It was a result of sin that death enters in. And we are, in our essence, we are eternal. And the choice is whether we spend eternity with God or eternity separated from God. But regardless, we'll spend eternity.
We'll spend eternity.
Yeah.
One way or another. And it kind of goes back to one of those we were able to do before Christmas, right? On the whole idea about
annihilation
and all that. So, but the point of the matter is, eternal life or eternal existence.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And the existence side is not real good to think about.
Right. I mean, according with Scripture, it's obviously separation from God is a hell, regardless.
So what do you? But a lot of people, Kevin, even if they don't really have a biblical view of the afterlife of this life, think there's something coming.
I mean, all the major religions have us going somewhere. Yeah. Whether it's Islam, they have, this idea of paradise, whether it is, Buddhism or, that you eventually just join the cosmos and the nirvana. You're trying to reach nirvana, or Hindu that reincarnation over and over and over again until you, I guess, become a god or whatever the case is. But there is a sense of that there is something, and you just can't get around that. It is only the secularist and the atheist who say, "Nah, I'm out."
Nothing.
And that's really just a hope, because they're hoping that there's nothing. They are hoping that there is no judgment,
because they're choosing to live their life in a way where they themselves are God. And
yes.
So,
which is very interesting because they have no ability to create a world. They have no ability to create out of nothing. And yet somehow they think that, we all just appeared and therefore we're all just going to disappear. So, it's just, these portions of life, when you are faced with this, seem to crystallize that.
For sure.
And because I have hope in Christ, I have hope. Bottom line.
About everything.
Yeah.
And that redeems so much.
So much. It does.
Right.
So anyway, welcome to the 12-2 podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right. We're here.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys have joined us, and we'll be continuing with it.
Yeah, we had
on.
We had our friend Omar Lugo who came in and did 3. The guy just kept talking. I mean, Omar is amazing with all of his understanding, being a native Venezuelan and obviously a U.S. citizen now. But just his understanding of the culture and the politics and the religion, right? In Venezuela, man, he was able to give us so much. So we made the best of the time we could.
Yeah,
right.
Well, good.
With the
I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to
glad to be back and rolling. And so much has happened.
It has.
This past month has extremely been. Just thinking about the whole immigrant ICE thing and the death of course, Alex Pretty and Renee Good. Both, of course, are tragedies because they're the loss of human life. I just find it interesting, the outcry for those two who were, for all practical purposes, realistically, we're breaking the law because we do not, as citizens, have the right to obstruct a
law enforcement officer,
police presence doing what they have been instructed to do. Which puts you in a very dangerous position because remember, the police are the ones that they have power. They have power of the state behind them.
That's right.
So in order to step up and do that, you are putting yourself in danger. And like my friend from Ukraine likes to say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Not that death is a stupid prize, but again, it's that sentiment of if you put yourself in danger, why are we surprised when danger happens? What bothers me so much is on the progressive side, the side that has embraced this chaos, there is no concern whatsoever for those who have been hurt by immigrants, whether it was killing, whether it's the DUI, the young couple in Charlotte I think it was like 2 months ago that died because some guy was, an illegal alien was driving drunk and killed him. You think of Lincoln Riley, Jocelyn, the Maryland mom of 5 who ended up dying. In fact, I printed off a list and I didn't bring it with me, but that list of just in the last 2 years was extremely long. Of just people who have died as a result of illegal immigration. And then the argument is, well, people die of American citizens. But my question is, so that justifies
allowing them to run the streets?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's just very interesting. Tennessee put out they just released their study because they're required by law to release a study every year. And for 2025, basically they are tracking crimes committed by illegal immigrants. And this past year, there were 2,183 violent crimes committed against other people by those who should not be in the country. And 41 of those were homicides. Sexual offenses were 145. And there was, in addition to that, there was 2,920 DUIs. And you say, well, that's probably a small percentage as compared to what citizens. But my question is, can you go to those people who lost? 41 people lost someone they loved because somebody who should not have been here was here. Can you go to them and say, oh, well, because somebody else got killed, it should be okay for yours, your loved one to be killed?
Yeah, and you think about it, every crime needs to be prevented, right? Every singular one. And so this is where I remember a book when I took statistics in college, and you might have seen this one too, How to Lie with Statistics, right? And it's not the classic lying of statistics, but when you just focus everything on percentages and just say because we're going directionally correct or directionally the wrong way, but not dealing with the causal effects, you're just it's just barking up the wrong tree, and that's what's happening.
Right.
And a lot of this so much is, and I'm kind of bothered right now because, we've got some families in our own church who are Hispanic and who are in the process, doing the right things, getting pre-approvals and for their visas, for citizenship, for all that. And right now they're stuck. They're stuck, right?
They're stuck in the in-between.
In between, right? Because of the ruling about 75 countries, I believe, where we have ceased the processing and some really tough situations there. And yet, I can understand the consternation toward that, but we've got to remember what just happened in the last 4 or 5 years,
right? With
the floodgates being opened.
Yeah, this chaos was created on purpose.
Yeah, it was. And now, because that fraudulent approach to governing, and I will say that, criminal approach to governing, I believe, because it's a blatant disregard of federal law. Because of that, we've got to correct.
Right.
And there are innocent people, law-abiding citizens, who unfortunately get caught up in the correction and the remedial part of it, and it's sad.
Yeah.
The other thing, the rioting and the protesting. I was talking to my wife, and I was, you mentioned the 2 folks in Minneapolis who were killed, and this may sound crass, but with everything going on, part of me thinks that it may be almost amazing to me that there have been only 2 such incidents, like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so many politicians and pundits are trying to paint the entire law enforcement community represented by ICE, as rogue, as criminal, etc. One of the things that I think that they're facing is obviously in war, our soldiers are in war. They war against those in the opposing uniform.
Right.
But the civilians in those countries, in those places of war, are off limits, right? And we've seen in Vietnam, we've seen in Iraq, I'm sure, we've seen instances where those standards were violated, right? But it's almost to me like if imagine a war where those innocents who are off limits were in the theater of operations of the war, spitting on you, hollering at you, taking photos of you, posting them everywhere, and doing all this stuff. And yet, as a soldier, you can't do anything about that because of the rules of war. And you can only deal with the folks who you're actually in the war against. And I imagine that's kind of the picture that I see when we're looking at the situation in these cities where ICE is dealing with trying to come up with the criminals, the illegal immigrants that are criminals,
right,
first priority, but they're having to deal with the distractions and the heckling and the opposition also of those bystanders who are in the theater of operations but have nothing to do with the theater of operations.
Yeah, it would be, I would see, yeah, that's a similar point. But the difference is, I think, is the fact that they are not there by accident. There are much bigger players instigating this. Mm-hmm. And even paying for it, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, the objective was to get a Renee Good. The objective was to get an Alex Pretty.
Yeah.
And that's why they were they're blowing the whistles. They're creating chaos when a law enforcement activity is occurring where they are apprehending someone who has a criminal violation and as a illegal immigrant, because what they realize is if they can create that kind of noise, that it causes these things to happen because they're on edge to begin with because of that noise, because of the loud, whether it's firecrackers or whistles or whatever. They know what they are doing and they are looking for that. And what's sad is that a lot of these people who are involved in this protests and stuff don't realize that they are being used by those who desire to have chaos.
Right.
And chaos is from Satan.
Yep.
He is the Lord of chaos. And what so many times happens when a country has that happen, you have this chaos, that people look to somebody to just stop the chaos, and they are willing to give up anything in order for the chaos to go away, whether that be their own sovereignty as a nation, whether that be the political party that's in charge. They're willing to, hey, we'll trade it out for the other one just so the chaos will go away. And so they were looking for that. They wanted sacrificial lambs, and they got two that they can use for political power. You see that we almost had a government shutdown over what had occurred. And it's not concern for Renee Good or Pretty's family. It's concern for their own political power. Look at Tim Walz. He is thanking whoever he worships, which I believe is Satan himself. He is thanking him every day that the focus is now on the fact that ICE killed 2 American citizens rather than the billions of dollars that he allowed to be stolen from the American taxpayer. And so he loves this diversion. Makes him, it gave him more political power, not less political power. Look at the mayor of Minneapolis. All of a sudden, he's a household name.
Right. Sure.
You know?
He'll be on the talk shows when his term's over, making all kind of money, probably run for another office and that kind of thing. Parlay this to a higher position because he got the opportunity to have the national attention on him because this is what happened. And they don't care about the lives that were lost. Bottom line, Kevin, it's amazing to me that so many people and look, I understand there are plenty of good, solid people in governmental positions, no question about it, in leadership positions that I can truly call leaders. I can't call these guys leaders. You can't call Walz a leader or Fry a leader or anything like that.
Or Ilhan Omar.
I mean, these are instigators. They're not leaders, but that they continue to get elected. I mean, the ability of individuals to pull the wool over the eyes of American citizens. And I'm not talking about if you're talking about liberal or conservative or progressive. I'm just talking about basic integrity. We've gotten to the point now to where the label's all that matters. The lifestyle doesn't matter, whether or not they've accomplished anything. Walz has not accomplished a single thing before he went into politics. I mean, there was nothing. The guy didn't even have any net worth. I mean, nothing in terms of production. And yet somehow he can make it into Congress and he can make it into the governor's mansion. And so I kind of go to what Paul said to the church at Thessalonica, about prophetic statements about the man of lawlessness, the Antichrist, right? The embodiment of Satan himself. And he uses the term, as we interpret it, lawlessness. And I think that's where we are. And so much of what we're seeing is indeed, I believe, just the progression or regression of morality into lawlessness. And and I agree with you that it's kind of like the stuff in the streets is masking the fraud. No question. And no question, the liberal press, the progressive press is a partner in this, and they're doing the same thing with that. But, it kind of goes back to Marxism requires the deconstruction of the existing traditional systems in order for there to be a reconstruction from ground up of different systems that basically write God out of the equation, that write individual rights out of the equation, everything that the Bible gives us, all the natural rights that we receive from the
God.
Lord.
It's it definitely is a lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Never happened before, has it?
Yeah, that train pulled out of this station. No, I think what the path I was going down is, Lenin commented on the fact that he needed useful idiots. And a lot of the students and the young people in Russia who were fed up with the system as it stood were willing to go and to riot and create chaos within a nation that resulted in the fall of that nation. And ultimately we saw communism. And what's scary is the fact that, first of all, we serve a God who is a God of order and law. Just look at the creation of the world. He took disorder and made order out of it. He established certain laws in which the planets run. Think of law of gravity, thermodynamics, all of those actual laws that we call scientific laws.
Sure.
He was the one who established that. And then you see that on the other side, what happens is this disorder.
Yeah.
And then they use this chaos and this disorder to eventually create a system that is destructive to humanity. Whether you go all the way back to the French Revolution, whether you go to the Bolshevik Revolution, whether you look at Venezuela,
China,
Cuba, what happens after the time of chaos is a very organized destruction of humanity that results in tens of millions of people's lives lost.
Humanity who had thought that they would actually be elevated in some way.
Right.
And yet they lose their lives, their very lives. And so, it kind of all goes back to this. And to see this happening today, it's like Omar said, I left Venezuela and now I'm seeing some of the same stuff that I saw in Venezuela happen here in the United States,
which is a scary proposition. I looked at both Renee Good and Alex, and I said, and I was having a conversation with my daughter, and I said, you know what, those would both still be alive. Those people would still be alive if they had a purpose at home. Like if Alex had been married and had kids and they were waiting on him to come home and read them a bedtime story, do you think he'd have been kicking out the light of an ICE agent or spitting on them? No, he would be figuring out a way, I need to get home. If Renee had really truly cared more about her children than an immigrant she had never met, or the fact that she wanted to live in a sinful lifestyle and she wanted to be near those kids so that she could be involved in their lives, would she have been in a place where she could have lost her life? Yeah. And I think what has happened is we have lost, and I think it was a concerted effort over years with our education system, that it's a concerted effort to take away the purpose that we were created for, to create families, to have to that being the foundation upon which we build. Right. And once that goes, people lose their purpose, and they're looking for purpose somewhere, because you can't live a purposeless life.
Right.
You lose your mind.
You can exist, but that's all it is. You can't live.
You can't live.
You can't truly live.
No. And we saw so much of that. I mean, we've been lied to by our media. We've been lied to by our education system. And I'll put feminism is one of those things that has lied to our young women and told them, hey, you can be just like a guy. There's nothing a guy does that you can't do. And what we've done is we've devalued women rather than elevated them as the creators of life. And when you do that, they go, oh, well, I'll just work and have a career. And then they turn 40 or something, 45, and they go, oh, there's something missing here. Yeah. And then they go looking for a family or a husband. And of course, all the high value guys have got married in their 20s and have kids right now and are raising kids, and they're not available, And of course, as biology happens, they have a tougher time having those children and stuff like that. And then so now you've ended up with somebody who has no purpose in their life. Right. And on the same thing, we've lied to our men saying that, hey, masculinity is somehow toxic or evil, and that, if you search for that, you should be more feminine. And they end up, 30, 40 and don't have a family or whatever the case is. And so they have lost their purpose. And so they're looking for these purposes and they go, oh, well, I'll go defend some, pedo or child murderer who should have been put in jail and then deported as soon as they served their time. And so then you end up with situations like that.
Yeah, they hear the cry, they hear the group think. They fall for the group think.
Yeah, and it gives them some sense of purpose, but it's so fleeting and so meaningless at the end, because when they're on their deathbed, when they're put in the ground, those people they were defending, they're not showing up.
No, they never
consoling.
did.
Yeah, they're not consoling their family. Yeah. They're not sitting around talking about stories about them, keeping their memory alive.
It was a circle the wagon approach where what unified them was whatever the cause was, and that's all they have in common, the cause of the day. Groupthink, we got to remember, groupthink is what killed Jesus when you get down to it, right?
Right.
And groupthink has not done a whole lot of good for anything down
especially when God is taken out of that of the equation.
Yeah. So where do you think we go from here with this? Looking ahead.
Oh, man, looking ahead.
So they're going to start doing some pulling out, right, of Minnesota, right? We're seeing.
I did see something very interesting. They have changed their tactic a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think what's ultimately going to happen is they're going to continue with this. I don't think they're going to bow, or I think they're just going to change their tactics to where they're not so public. Mm-hmm. I know that they were doing some diversion tactics, so they drew all the protests to one side and then they went somewhere else this time. In the past, I think initially it was to show a show of force.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, we're here. Mm-hmm. We're serious.
You got to do something about this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that, of course, I don't think the administration thought that the blow up would be as big as it was, and that the violence would occur. Mm-hmm. And now that it has, I think they'll just change tactics a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's disturbing in the fact that even the mayor of Boston last week stated that everybody in the world has the right to come to the U.S. So if you have no borders to your country, do you have a country?
Mm-hmm. No, you don't. There is no country. Yeah.
I mean, Billie Eilish has taken heat over what she said at the Grammys.
And I'm sorry, because I know you're a member of her fan club. And
no.
Right.
Not hardly. Where she said, no borders, there's no borders on stolen land.
Nobody's illegal on stolen land.
Right, yeah, or nobody's illegal on stolen land. And her $14 million mansion with walls and a gate is on, quote, stolen land.
Yeah, right. And
so
they're making noise about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're actually preparing a lawsuit to see if they can take it. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm kind of rooting for them on that one.
Yeah. Well, either way, it's going to show, either you don't end up with your mansion or there is such a thing as private property.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And to be honest, it's just to demonstrate the relatively low ratings that shows like that get.
Right.
And yet the post-publication, publicity that they receive, so disproportionate.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Unless you make a stupid statement.
And so all that stuff is just amazing. Yeah, the whole thing about, and I think just the stupidity of it all is that the hatred for our president is so deep that
TDS.
The TDS, but it's everything, Kevin. I mean, there's not a thing that you see. Every headline is. It doesn't matter if he's the cause of whatever the problem is. The headlines are written in such a way that it's him, it's Trump, and without and it's. I just, when the Apple News thing comes up on my phone, I just totally get rid of it as soon as I can, because I can guarantee you there's multiple headlines that they're featuring there that, if you really dig into the story, have really nothing to do with the reality of the story.
Yeah.
Because they know that people are not going to read the story.
Right.
We're not going to do that. It's all about the headline.
Right.
And a lot of them are going to just make their assumptions and fill their beliefs based upon the headlines.
Of course. So.
Yeah.
We're that kind of people.
We're that shallow, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We are. So. Well, maybe we'll come back with some maybe more predictions next time, and we'll see.
I don't know.
What's
I'm not
happened
very
by
good
this
at predictions.
Time. No, me neither. But I guess we'll have to watch
you can look at my stock portfolio and tell I'm not very good at predictions.
Yeah, I gave up a long time ago. I finally hired somebody, so you might want to think about that.
Yeah. So anyway,
let us know if you like what we're doing.
Yeah,
right.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Mm-hmm. Hit the likes, hit the subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your enemies.
Yeah,
everybody. We appreciate it.
We'll take anybody. Right. God bless. Take care. See you next time. Thanks.